Hey y'all, so welcome to this Taurus Full Moon / Lunar Eclipse. So this is a doozy of a reading because of the astrological settings. It's not always the reason why the astrology, but also the collective and what's going on and the theme for this particular full moon ceremony. For this full moon ceremony, we will be doing a pick a card, but a pick a card for the particular element. So I will start off with earth, air, water, and finally fire. So before we get into the nitty-gritty of everything, let us sage the room. Light this up a little bit. Handy dandy candle right in front of me. Alright, let's clear this energy, let's clear out this room. Let us be in our highest of vibrations. Let these messages resonate on the clearest of intentions. Let us leave our self-doubt, our worries, our imposter syndrome, and everything and anything that interrupts us, that works in our worst outcomes, and that put us in a place of stress, a place of desperation, a place of depression. Let our clearest intentions, our highest vibrations, our ancestors, our light workers, and our intuition be at peace and hear these messages intuitively and clearly. Ashe, ashe. And I feel like there's a couple of ancestors on standby, ready to go and give us some messages. I am going to spritz the room with this lavender spray. We're going to breathe, inhale and exhale. And this lavender spray helps us ground ourselves and be present while we get the messages from this particular reading. And of course, I'm going to give you all the deets about this reading. But let me first get my singing bowl. Brought that back. Hasn't been here for a while, but let's get grounded into routines like a Taurus would be doing. So let us tap the singing bowl 3 times. Each time we will inhale and exhale as a collective, grounding ourselves. Alright, let me put that to the side. So we are here for, like I said, the Taurus full moon that also happens to be lunar eclipse. So we are in the North Node in Scorpio and the South Node in Taurus, and because of this, we are experiencing a rebirth as well as an authenticity shift, not us only as individuals, but as the collective. And currently we are in Scorpio season. However, you know how the full moon is in opposition with the season, so in opposition of Scorpio is Taurus, which I actually happen to be a Taurus in an 8th house. So these energies will definitely be affecting me and the collective in general, but in particular earth signs and signs ruled by Venus, which is the ruling planet of Taurus, but also the ruling planet of Libra. So this is an energy of who we are in our authenticity and how we balance our truth in environments in particular that does not maybe respect our truth or doesn't see our truth or aren't as evolved and progressive as us. So it's asking us, how do we evolve in these maybe archaic or maybe stagnated, maybe you're not getting a response or messages are delayed or unclear, but you're in general the environment of stagnation, the environment of stickiness, environment of maybe it is very professional, but in the sense of like corporate or stuffiness or elitism or however you describe it, this energy is asking us, how do we navigate those spaces where we don't have to self-sacrifice, but we also don't have to quote unquote play the game in a way that is unauthentic to us, right? You don't want to come in busting through the door waving the 4-4, but you also don't want to be passive and just agreeing just to maybe get certain people's appraisals or get some certain people's eye in a wink, or just doing things to go along to get along. So like I said, this will be a pick a card for the different elements: earth, air, water, fire. And within this particular reading, we will be working with 3 different decks. The first deck is the Sacred Self-Care Oracle deck. So it is the purple card and it looks like this. I can bring it up to the camera. All right. Yeah. And then the second card we have is from the Romance Angel Oracle deck and it looks like this. And the third card we will be using for these energies for this reading, this ceremony, is the Gypsy Oracle deck, and the back looks like that. And if these messages resonate, definitely let me know below. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all of that jazz. But before we jump right into this particular reading, let's get some energy reading. Let's see what's going on in the astrology, what's going on in the collective, with what to expect with this Taurus full moon. Getting a little bit of that knowledge base by reading an article that I have already selected, I believe, from Well Plus Good. But before we get into that, we will be starting off first with where are the planets in the astrology. So let me tell you, currently Venus in Scorpio. Venus enters Sagittarius at Wednesday, November 16th, 2022. Mercury in Scorpio. Mercury enters Sagittarius at Thursday, November 17th, 2022. Mars retrograde in Gemini. Mars goes station direct in Gemini at January 12th, 2023. Jupiter retrograde in Pisces. Jupiter goes station direct in Pisces at Wednesday, November 23rd, 2022. Saturn in Aquarius. Saturn enters Pisces at Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. Uranus retrograde in Taurus. Uranus goes station direct in Taurus at Sunday, January 22, 2023. Neptune retrograde in Pisces, which is its home planet, a ruling planet, I shall say. Neptune is the ruling planet of Pisces, but it isn't retrograde. Neptune goes station direct in Pisces at Saturday, December 3rd, 2022, which will be good because, you know, this is the Christmas season. So you would want to be in the mood for all that dreamy, all that love, happy, happy, joy, joy. And even with the arts and the creativity with the gingerbread and the gingerbread house and all of that crispy, sugary treats, and even the consumerism. Like, let's be honest, this is the 22nd, or shall I say, this is the year 2022. Like, Christmas it's collaborated with, you know, consumerism. But nonetheless, it gets you in that dreamy state, especially if you're into all that Hallmark movie stuff like me. This is the season for that. So it would be good for Neptune to be stationed direct in time for the holiday seasons. Pluto in Capricorn. Pluto enters Aquarius at Thursday, March 23rd, 2023. Chiron retrograde in Aries. Chiron goes station direct in Aries at Friday, December 23rd, 2022. And as I was reading where the astrology is right now, I was reminded that, of course, not even of course, but if you know, you know. As the Taurus full moon and solar eclipse is going, on top of that is also election season, especially for the midterms in the United States. So the same astrology that's going on with the cosmos is the same effect and change is happening to the collective, especially if you are in the United States. So a lot of people saw shifts in their leaders, trying to see which leaders, politicians, campaign aligns more with the working class, the proletariat, the poor class, and just everybody who makes up everyday people. What will better our lives, especially those who have experienced a lot of hardships, financial hardships since the pandemic, and honestly a lot of people prior to the pandemic. So with this change of authority, this change of order, and Taurus being the sign that is not only an earth sign but a fixed sign, and it is a sign that represents that holy ordained hierarchy with the Hierophant as the main major arcana card for Taurus, but it's also that ability to see the truth from the fake, right? Especially a lot of those who were told vote blue no matter who and grit their teeth to the polls, and then just to Friday, yesterday, November 11th, to be told that, oh, by the way, yikes, you voted blue no matter who, and you voted thinking that, you know, President Biden was going to provide this stimulus relief, but plot twist on your ass and all our asses, the act that Joe Biden paired the student loan relief program with, and this is just an example, stick with me, it was paired under the HEROES Act, but the HEROES Act was a temporary act put into place for the pandemic in particular. You can't use that act to justify cancellations of partial, not even total, and total could be completed. Didn't choose total, but chose partial cancellation, because you can't say, oh, it's an emergency, that's why I'm canceling these student loans, but then be telling the public, hey, by the way, the pandemic is over, go back to work, no more work from home, everything is back to normal. You can't say we're in an emergency and act this act and then be telling the public, oh, actually, it's not an emergency, we're over COVID. And we know COVID ain't over. They're just not reporting on it. And this is winter season, or we're going into winter season. So usually the cases of flu and cold goes up. So COVID, especially this time during the height of the pandemic, was when the numbers were slowly going to creep up. And this is just the beginning of winter season. So I say all of this to say is that if you were one of those people who believed, vote blue no matter who, or you believed that you were going to gain a particular benefit for, let's say, voting for Joe Biden, come to find out Friday, a Republican judge blocked the student loan partial forgiveness from going through. And lawyers, credible lawyers, highly educated lawyers are saying, you know what, if Biden was serious about student loan partial cancellation forgiveness, what he should have done was paired it off with the Higher Education Act, because college, Higher Education Act, higher education is college. It would have been a better and more credible case, and it wouldn't have been blocked. But now it has been blocked after people voted in the midterms. So it's things like that, seeing how political moves are made, how deals are cut, and how people are willing to play a particular game that best suits them. So with the collective is asking, are you getting your fair share? And if not, how do you circumvent the system to better benefit you and your community? For example, I live in a ballot initiative state. I live in Massachusetts. So what I did when I voted on ballot initiatives. That's not to say that I don't care who represents me, as opposed to, I know there's only so much they can do and they're only so far they can go. And truth be told, I am more leftist than there will ever be. That's just what that is, especially with corporate money. And as a leftist, I'm not into capitalism. So my politician would be more like a Kashama Sawant, but she lives in Seattle, versus the typical Democratic and Republican two-party system that does not necessarily work for the people. But you know what does work for the people? Ballot initiatives. So that's what I voted on. There were 6 questions. I answered each question that I knew best served me and my community. Such questions as, do I agree on Medicare for all, single payer healthcare? I voted yes on that. Of course I do. In a country where healthcare is super expensive and people are dying from diseases such as COVID, why wouldn't I want for me and everybody within my community to be able to have accessible, free, universal healthcare. I'm definitely going to vote for that. And I did vote for that. And that was one of the things that I voted for that actually passed. Now, there is a process after that. You know, the governor has to be able to approve it. But the point is, from the last ballot initiatives that got passed, such as the legalization of marijuana, the governor approved of that ballot initiative being passed, so it came into law, and such as other ballot initiatives. So we shall see what happens to Medicare for all, single payer healthcare, and as well as another one that I voted for and came to pass was the tax the rich. So we want to increase a 4% tax on those who are millionaires, those who are uber wealthy. They're not already paying their fair share. Infrastructure is falling apart in Massachusetts. Public transportation is crappy and unreliable, and it's honestly a safety hazard. Like, the Orange Line has like caught on fire, so like that is an issue. And as a person who uses public transportation, I'm just a person, like everyday people doing everyday things, and most working class people are taking public transportation. Of course I'm going to vote for that initiative. Of course I want the tax to be taxed on the rich because they could afford it and they need to pay their fair share, and that money benefits the community. It benefits improving the infrastructure, improving public transportation. It also benefits school-age kids, bettering the school systems within Massachusetts, bettering the assistance of college students, especially with this heavy burden of student loans. So it betters the community. And those are things that are very direct. I don't have to vote for a particular representative, a particular council person, a particular senator, a particular governor, a particular this, that, and the third. I don't have to go through a person to have these initiatives passed because they are on the ballot. And to be honest, for me and the person that I am, and we're going to get back into the reading, I did not forget. The person that I am in my evolution, in my ascension, I don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. And I don't want to vote for someone who might be maybe good on healthcare and universal healthcare, but then not really good on foreign policy. Like, you know, they're into drone strikes, they're into invasions, they're into all of these things that me as a person, I don't agree with. And I don't want to vote for the lesser of two evils. I don't want to vote for a person who'll be maybe good, half-ass on certain situations, Bernie Sanders, but in other situations, totally horrible, totally anti-human, or votes on things that I'm not okay with, like more funding to Israel or more funding to the Ukraine war. These are things that I don't agree with and are against my leftist policies. So I say all of this to say is that this is the time to really step into your authenticity within your community, within your lives, within your workplace, within the people who are closest to you, and stand on things, especially in precarious times like the economy, like the war in Ukraine and everything in between, climate change and everything. This is the time for people to really be like, this is what I stand on. These are my principles. These are my disciplines. And that is what I am practicing. Not just sitting on, not what I do on, but what I do on the weekends. These are not just conversations that I have with my friends. These are not just ideas that I read about. But no, I'm putting that into practice. I'm walking that walk, talking that talk. Whew. Now, let us read a little bit about what to expect with this Taurus full moon. So, taking charge of your life. I heard that. Someone's ancestor said taking charge of your life. Very much so. The full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus could bring personal breakthroughs. Hear what to expect for your sign. The full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus, which is the final eclipse of 2022, takes over the sky on November 8th at 6 a.m. Lunar eclipse mark culminating points and endings that involve a hint of fate. If there are decisions or actions we've avoided, destiny steps in and focuses our hands. Eclipse season can feel we're moving between an old version of ourselves and a forever changed future version of ourselves. Yes, especially that rebirth energy of Scorpio, and Taurus very much that grounded, self-worth, self-esteem, material, who you are, your security of what you have. This eclipse takes place on the Taurus-Scorpio axis, a polarity that's associated with life and death. Taurus topics include our physical body and autonomy, land and the environment, and resources and values. Yes, very much of that Hierophant energy. The sun in Scorpio illuminates more austere matters like what lurks beneath the surface, the taboo, power and manipulation, death, our fears, and eventually rebirth and transformation. Think back to last year's full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus in November 2021. What were you sorting through? We had another lunar eclipse in Taurus at the same spot in the sky in November 2003. Similarly, what karma was unfolding for you during this time? Those issues, conversations, and people may come up again under this eclipse. I'm definitely feeling like a bugaboo. I'm definitely feeling like I want a second chance type of energy. Very much like maybe a twin flame, maybe a return of an ex. Very much like I have seen the errors of my ways, but also, are you that same person? And then hear me out. Now, a lot of people fantasize, especially if you were very much involved with a person, you developed very deep feelings, you very much had future conversations about what the next steps of your relationship would look like. And people will experience that type of depth in a relationship, and for whatever reason the relationship departures, it disintegrates, it ends. And usually, I wouldn't say usually, but in a particular scenario, when it ends so harshly or so abruptly or so emotionally jam-packed, sometimes emotions and feelings are left unsaid. But after you get over the crying and the sobbing and the snot nose and thinking that life will never go on and who will ever love me again, and you do that healing work, you do that repair work, you do that soul work, right? You become the better version of yourself. And maybe initially it was to get the person back, or maybe it was to get a better person, a better partner. But over time, you gain self-love, self-assurance, confidence, where it's like you don't need somebody and you're not searching and yearning for somebody, where you don't think your life begins with somebody, that you are a whole and full entity, that you're not half of somebody, you're not half of a soulmate, that you are a complete and total full agency having person, right? And then out of you just living your regular normal ass life, the person who left you in shambles returns. Now, some people might look at it like it's fate. If you throw them out and they come back, that's how you know it's real. Let them go. If they come back, that's how you know it's real, right? And in a Disney movie, in a Hollywood script, yeah, they came back. End of the story. But them coming back as the same version of themselves, and you are who you are, the better version of yourself. Is that fair to your development and your evolution, that you spent all this time and energy and attention and attentiveness, right? You healed yourself, loved yourself, right? Molded yourself, educated yourself, learned from the mistakes, built your boundaries, all to return back to square one with the same person doing the same things. Is that fair to you in your transformation? Yes or no? Because like I said, I love me some wholesome TV. Put it in black. Love it even better. Back to Abbott Elementary. Remember the episode of Janine's boyfriend coming back? And then, yeah, it was cool for the kids. And yeah, it was cool for those who maybe had missed him being around. But as Janine was reminiscing about how things used to be and how she's lonely and she likes the familiarity of the relationship that she had with the ex. I don't even remember his name. At least I remember Gregory's name. The ex, wannabe rapper dude. wanna be Kids Bop, true Kids Bop rapper dude. When he came back, Janine was trying to catch feelings. She was starting to think about, oh, maybe I should give him, a little bit of throw it right back. And it wasn't until it was pointed out to her that she deserved better, as well as she started seeing the patterns of behavior that made her dump the ex, is when she was like, oh, sweetie, no, we can't go out. We can't do dinner. We can't go back into the patterns of things because you haven't changed, but I have. I'm not the same woman that you left. Like, I'm a different person. And I expect more from you just showing up, literally showing up. Don't have no car, ain't got no gas money, very much of a bugaboo, very much of like a leech, very much of a delayed adolescence, very much like looking for a pick me, like that type of energy, right? But Janine wasn't there in her career anymore, her personhood anymore, and she was catching feelings for Gregory. Old dude coming back reminded her of who he is, but most importantly, who she was the last time he saw her versus who she currently is in the timeline of the show. That's what I'm saying. It's not necessarily, oh, don't take the ex back, it's going to be a disaster. But if you're going to entertain the idea, at the very least, compare and contrast who you were versus who you are, and who they were and who they are, and see if you still want that person or the idea of being with that person. Because the idea and the actual version of the person is two different things, child. And not for nothing, if you did all of this, heavy lifting and excess loving and obsessing and the back and forth and the hostile and the making up to break up and the sneak shading and the Finsta accounts and all this extra stuff in your relationship, then it finally crumbled because it's toxic. Then you rebuild yourself, you remold yourself, you love on yourself, you heal yourself and all that good stuff, right? And the ex that left you in shambles comes back around. What does that say about you? Honestly, that you're always going to be around, that from the lowest version of yourself to your highest version, which is your current state, you did all of that work and all of that processing just so you could be with the same old thing, the same old person, the same old relationship. There's like, 8 billion people on this planet? And you have to continually circle back to the same old broken record of a relationship? What does that say about you? What does it say about how you value yourself? What does it say about the relationships that you take seriously? And that's not me sneak shading, as opposed to, as cringy as you may feel listening to this, you should feel equally as cringy for accepting this, because not for nothing, even if you do want the person or you do miss the relationship, do you not think you deserve better, or at least try and sample something else out there? Because not for nothing, they probably did sample some things out there, not for nothing. And that's their free will to do so. But also, you don't want a person to think that I could go across the world, I could do whatever, say whatever, act in any way, and I know my good trusty old blankie of you will always be there. No matter what I do, no matter what I say, no matter where I go, no matter how many heartbreaks, you will always still be around. What does that say? And I'm going to leave that on your chest, and I'm going to leave that on your heart. So let's get back to the reading. Let's get back to the article. The moon in Taurus sits next to Uranus, a planet of shock, upheaval, and surprise in the sky. This can stimulate feelings of rebirth, breakthroughs, and a desire to give in to our impulsive nature, which can make for exciting but also unpredictable energy that can bring up feelings of anxiety or restlessness. The moon will also form a tense conversation with critical Saturn in Aquarius, which is also a comfortable sign for Saturn. Saturn does rule Aquarius, which will remind us of our of responsibilities, burdens, and commitments. While we crave change, we also fear it. If Uranus represents progress and innovation, think of Saturn as the old guard and structures that have been in place for decades, even centuries. Yeah, so this battle or tug of war of power and new energy, right? So this is what I was talking about. How do you present in your authentic self, even in spaces that are very stifled, to say the least? It's not cosmic coincidence that this lunar eclipse tug of war between old and new takes place on election day in the United States. Wow! This lunar eclipse in Taurus offers a window of unfiltered self-reflection that may feel hairy to navigate in the moment, but the energy can ultimately result in an awakening or emotional breakthrough. On a personal level, consider where you are resisting change. This full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus offers a window for unfiltered self-reflection that may feel hairy to navigate in the moment, but the energy can ultimately result in an awakening or emotional breakthrough. During the lunar eclipse, the sun, our consciousness, and Mercury, the planet of communication, will be forming a kazami, which means they are located at the same exact point in the sky. Wow, so the alignment is thorough. It's like, again, very much staring man in the mirror, very much like staring at your reflection, seeing who you are, where you're at, and how do you stand on your square. Very much like walking like you talking. This strengthens Mercury and can lead to divine downloads, inspiration, and a new level of awareness. With the moon in Taurus, Venus is the planet in charge during the eclipse, and she tends to struggle when in Scorpio. So we may feel like our needs are not being met in some way. When we sit with our triggers, fears, shame, guilt, and what we've been avoiding, we may be blessed with insight on how we'd like to move forward in a healthier way. This eclipse is not for the faint of heart. It's here to change our lives. So I'm going to leave it there. So now that we see what it's giving, and it is giving a lot, it is requiring us to step up to the plate. So let's see with the earth signs first, since it is Taurus full moon. We are going to see what is the energies for the earth sign. So this will resonate for sun, moon, rising, and Mercury, Venus for the earth sign collective. So the earth sign collective would be Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo. So let's start with the self-care oracle card. So what we have is sweet treats. Now, let me see if you could see it. Hopefully you can. I know the ambiance is very much giving us dim light. Hopefully it's clear enough even through the dim light. And it's number 50, sweet treats. And I know it's Halloween season just passed. Not too long ago that Halloween just passed. So a lot of kids and their parents and other adults were out here eating their little sweet tooth needs away. So maybe that's you. Maybe this is also a reminder to brush your teeth and floss. Don't forget to floss. And truth be told, I forgot what show I was watching, but I was watching a show where they're making a joke about floss, and they were like, flossing is like not properly wiping yourself after doing a number 2. And ever since then, I never ever not floss, especially the days where you hit the bed late and you tired and you just like, look, I'm just feeling to brush my teeth. You know, what's an extra 1 minute that would take you to floss? What if I just skip the floss? Like, I'm tired. But ever since I heard that line, I was like, you know what? I can never not floss. I don't give a damn how tired I am. I'm gonna spend that extra minute and I'm gonna floss. But or some of y'all may be needing to remind yourself to book that dentist appointment, especially again in Massachusetts. A ballot initiative was to make the dentist industry to be more transparent about what they do with the dental insurance claims, especially those who do have dental insurance. You know, dental is a part of your body. This is a part of your overall, you know, operation of your body, just like your eyes is part of your body. So this is all one entity. It's, you know, politics that divides the eyes and from the ears and the teeth from the body and all this other weird stuff, capitalism stuff. But overall, it's one body. It's all found on the body. But for dentists, in particular dentist insurance, when you get it from your employer, however you get your dental insurance, what dental insurance now have to do, because it was passed overwhelmingly, like overwhelming, more than Medicare for all single payer, more than 4% increase on taxation for the uber wealthy in Massachusetts. Well, overwhelmingly, everybody voted, like about 70+% for this new insurance regulation that goes, if you're an insurance company, you have to share more details about what you do with that insurance money. How do you spend that insurance money? And are you actually using all the money that you charge for insurance? And if it shows that you have not, then you are legally required to refund the person who is paying for the insurance. So for, let's say for the year, you are paying $1,000 in dental insurance, but you actually only used, let's say $300 out of it. The rest of the money would go back to you. So that $700 would go back to you for the year because you didn't spend it. Essentially, that is what the new ballot initiative that was voted for in regards to the dental insurance. So this might be a reminder to do that as well. But I see with the sweet treats, especially since you see this little mommy, she is smiling, like she is enjoying herself. Maybe you're into baking, maybe that's your safe space, maybe that is what makes you feel happy. Maybe you're a cooker, maybe you're into baking, maybe you've had recipes that you haven't, you know, actually been able to do, you know, you wasn't actually able to either cook or bake or even making certain juices. It's very much close enough to getting the eggnog ready, getting the apple cider ready. So maybe it might be a holiday thing, a traditional thing, and this is the season where you're like, oh, I haven't made gingerbread cookies, let me get the ingredients. Or, oh, I haven't made this and the third since Granny has passed. Or, oh, I want to get into baking and challenging myself to cook other recipes that I'm not accustomed to making. But this is very much zen. As you can see her face, she's very much happy. She's very much enjoying herself, enjoying just even the aroma, the smell, the feeling, the hard work that she put in. You can kind of see the hairs on her face is kind of like straggly, so she may have worked herself up into a sweat and worked herself up into an appetite, but nonetheless she's in her feeling of like security and the feeling of like happiness and warmth, and knowing that the food that she made is bomb as F. So this might be reminding you that, you know, maybe you should get into cooking again or baking again. Or maybe you have a family member or a friend that's into baking. You're like, you know what, let me call them up and we can bake together. Or let me call them up and see if they can make me that apple pie that I love so much, or whatever the case may be. As well, around the corner is Thanksgiving. That's sooner than Christmas. So this might be the time where you're like, okay, gotta make plans. Who I'm inviting to my house, where they gonna sit. Maybe you might be into doing Friendsgiving. But whatever the case may be, this is the energy of just being safe inside yourself, safe in what you're doing, and safe around people who really appreciate you, who very much love you, who very much reciprocate that high vibrational energy. We have here with the Romance Angel cord is express your love. Go ahead and make the romantic gesture. So this might be, let's say you meet someone new, or you're entertaining going back into the dating scene. Maybe you haven't dated somebody in a while, maybe a couple months, maybe a couple years, maybe since the pandemic, or maybe even prior to the pandemic. But now you want to, you know, go out there, test the waters, put your toe in. Very much give me Diane Ross's I'm coming out, do. I want the world to know. Had to let it show. So maybe this is the time you really want to show. And anytime is really the right time, because some people might be like, oh, it's winter time. If you're not already in a relationship, it's over for you. Who you gonna cuddle with? Who you gonna fight the winter cold with? Who you gonna snuggle with? And like you might feel like this may not be the season because everybody's gonna be inside their homes or snuggled, huddled up, or because of inflation and everything that's going on, people aren't maybe spending as much money. Maybe people aren't necessarily going out, so you might feel like there's not much options to get out there, to be social, to meet anybody new. But I feel like with this particular energy, earth signs, Capricorn, Virgo, Tauruses, I feel like with this particular energy, fate is going to intervene. Just like the article said, like if you've done all you can do, you dotted your I's, you crossed your T's, and not necessarily in dating, but just in general, whatever you're waiting on an answer for, you're waiting on an approval for, you're waiting for the next steps on, but you've done everything that you can do. I feel like the rest of the way will be taken on by the light workers, by your ancestors, and just by favor. Like you may not think that you are the bee's knees, and someone's going to show you that you are. Someone might give you that reference. Someone might hit you with that, let's say, that benefit of like cosign. Someone might hit you up for the cosign, or someone might give you an inside look at something, inside benefit. It's kind of like internal. Like let's say you worked somewhere and you left that position, you might be able to come back, or let's say because you're accustomed to working in this particular workplace or doing this particular job, performing this particular task, you might be good at, and you don't necessarily have to go through the jumps and hoops that maybe, let's say, a person who's never done this work or never been in this profession, they might have to jump through hoops. It could also be time happening quicker for you, the timeline increasing in its process of things. So again, this could be in the way of like, oh, usually people have to wait 2 weeks, but for you, or because in this situation, it's actually like 3 days. So this is what I'm getting with express your love and go ahead and make that romantic gesture. It's one of the situations where it's like, yeah, usually I don't do this, or usually I'm not in a situation like that. And I feel like to make that romantic gesture, to express your feelings, it's going to be in a situation and meeting a particular person where it's like, usually on a Sunday at 3 p.m. I'm not here, but here I am, and I'm actually happy to be here. I bump into someone who I'm familiar with, or someone who takes interest in me, and I take interest in them, and we exchange numbers, and then we find out we have a lot of things in common. It's kind of serendipity. It's kind of, what would I say? Spontaneity. Very much of like coincidence, but I feel like it's very much you being in your lovely, you being in your happy place, you being centered, you being your authentic self is what draws this person to you. Like you might just be like, oh, I just bake cookies when I'm happy. And then your friend invites a friend over, and that friend is like, oh, you know, so-and-so makes really good cookies. The friend of the friend eats the cookies, like, wow, these cookies are so bomb. You know, that reminds me of my mother, and then my mother's from this country. And you're like, oh, my mother's from this country too. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Boom. Boom. Expressing your feelings, expressing that love for cooking, that love for culture, that love for spending time with each other. And it's developing slowly over time, just like baking. It's not 2.5 seconds. It kind of takes a couple of minutes, depending on your cooking or your baking. It might even take hours. It might take a lot of preps and a lot of steps. Sometimes you might have to freeze it. You might have to saute it. You might have to boil it. You might have to roll it out. You might have to whatever it. But the process and the efficiency, the detail, the patience of the process is what's going to make in this case, the muffins worthwhile. So you might have, really nice muffins, or you might make the best muffins, or whatever the case may be. You might be a person who even cooks alternatively. Like you may be a person who may be a vegan or a vegetarian. People are like, usually I don't eat this food, but the way that you cook it, I eat it. Usually I don't expand my horizons. I don't try these different things, I don't eat these different things, I don't go to these different places, but because of you, it's like, you know what, I'm taking that chance, I'm taking that leap of faith, and I'm actually am happy because I met so and so along the way. Very much of like how I met your mother, but like practical. And we have thief, but we have thief in reverse. And I'm gonna show you it upright. Someone's busting through the windows. Remember that song, that viral, when like viral was their new thing? Busting through your, wait, hide your wife, hide your kids, hide your husband, because they, everybody out here. And it became like this viral, very like primitive version of a rap diss virability, and it was just like auto-tuned and chopped up. It was a whole ordeal. If you lived through that, you lived through that. And if you did it, it don't even matter. We moving on. But it's giving me that type of tease, but it came in reverse. So I feel like in reverse, in particular with the express your love here, I feel like the reason why it's in reverse is to say that if you're the type of person, especially again, we did that scenario about like, you know, exes coming back. If you especially are a person who's very loving and very giving, especially Tauruses, you out there ruled by Venus and whatnot, you want to see the best in people because you truly believe in morals and ethics and values, and you know, people are flawed, so you don't try to hold things against people. But you also shouldn't play yourself in regards to when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time, Maya Angelou. And also, just because you've been hurt in the past does not mean the past will just continue to repeat itself. If you learn the lessons and you set the boundaries and you build the esteem, then even if the person is the best of the best or the worst of the worst, you'll be able to better navigate that because you're not looking for a particular someone or something to tell you the right answer, as opposed to you are secure in yourself to know what you deserve and what you will accept. And if you're dealing with someone who is showing you actively that they are disaligned with who you are and what you deserve, then you won't have an hesitation to kick them out because they are not the end all be all. You are. Period. So I feel like with the thief in reverse, it's like maybe you might be a little nervous because you've been out of the dating game and you've been hurt in the past. But I also feel like with this thief in reverse, like you know what you deserve and things that you just will not accept. There's certain things that maybe you look back in the past and be like, oh my God, I can't believe I actually allowed this to happen. I can't believe that I actually dealt with this particular person. I can't believe I allowed myself to suffer in these type of instances. And now it's cringe face, not necessarily blaming or not necessarily embodying the victim mentality, so to speak, but very much like the person that I am today would never, versus like maybe in the past you were like, well, you know, I love him, or they mean well. They maybe you was dealing with a narcissist, so you were trying to, you know, gain love where there was no love to be gained, whatever the case may be. But it's very much like that was the past, that was that, and this ain't this. Especially if you are on the up and up. Doesn't necessarily mean financially, but you have something of value. It could even be you, a person, like you have high character, or you're very funny, or you're a great cook. Okay, you might have that good wop, but whatever the case may be, if you're the person who is always there for people and you're really reliable and you're really trustworthy and really steady, people tend to lean on those people because they are reliable, because no matter what they do to that person and no matter what happens in life, they know that they can always go back to that person because that person makes them feel maybe seen or makes them feel secure, even if it's like emotionally secure. But you need not to play that part because A, it's emotionally regressive. They need to be able to deal with their emotions on themselves, by themselves, as a part of personal development, that's a part of like, you know, adulting. But more importantly than that, you will forever be typecast as their babysitter or typecast as their leeching post or be typecast as their helper. Just like for the example with Janine from Abbott Elementary. I think the boyfriend's name was Tariq. Now I remember. Tariq was always in her pockets. Tariq was always talking about, can he just use her car? Tariq was always just insulting her. And she always felt like she had to mother him. She always felt like she had to make excuses for him. She always felt like she had to take care of him. And what does that do to the psyche of you? Who's taking care of you? Who's loving on you? This is literally the self-care oracle deck. Who is feeding you? Who are nurturing you? Who is watering you? And I feel like in the past, in particular, earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, you may have not been watered. You may have been raised in an environment where water was scarce, literally like a desert, or somewhere like Mississippi where their water was purposely poisoned. Or you could have been in an environment where you weren't told that you weren't the best, that you weren't properly loved as a child. Maybe you were parentalized. Maybe you came from a toxic family, a toxic background. Maybe you had to play a role that stifled you, and you've been looking for love in all the wrong places, right? Very much of that insecure relationship, you know, very much of that neediness, that clinginess, right? But just because you've experienced that does not mean that you can't break the cycle, does not mean that you're doomed to experience that over and over again. And it does not mean that you need to keep on trying over and over and over again and fixing people whose job it is not for you to fix, and as well as may not even want to be fixed. But with this particular energy, earth signs, Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus, what I'm seeing with this is like legitimately the kids are okay. Seriously, the kids are okay. I feel like with this is, if anything, is more like overthinking as opposed to something bad is gonna happen. But I feel like trust your instincts, because you know yourself and you know what you've been through and you know what you deserve. And if it doesn't make you feel like, I don't know, fresh baked muffins, it doesn't make you feel like eating fresh baked gingerbread cookies on Christmas morning, if it doesn't make you feel like smelling the sweet smell of cinnamon, then it don't feel right. If it makes you feel panicky, if it makes you feel nervous, if it makes you feel insecure, then you know it ain't for you. So be free to express your love. Be free to take that step. Be free to love again. Be free to try again. Just make sure that you don't lose yourself in the process. Okay. Let us move on to pile 2, which is the air signs. Okay. So the first card, we have is sex. And no, we are not talking about your assigned sex at birth. We are talking about doing the Humpty Dumpty. Okay? She got a little pum pum short. She got a little thong, a little something going on. But that's just the PG version for the audience. But yeah, let me stop playing because we grown here. Sex. So I feel like with this, you might not be getting enough, or you are having a lot, or you've been self-pleasuring. But whatever the case may be here, I feel like this is more like finding your sexy and standing and being affirmed in that, especially if you've had body image issues or insecurity issues, if you are a person who's overweight or underweight, or you might feel like your boobies are lopsided, or you have a crooked nose or something, whatever it is. And truth be told, with propaganda and the fashion industry, capitalism, beauty politics, and propaganda, we can all find something on our bodies that we will make believe is the worst thing that ever existed for us to change it, that will benefit some capitalist bottom line profit mark. But I feel like with this, it's very much owning who you are, owning it, and living in that true authenticity, right? Without the lashes, without the makeup, without the hair, but more importantly, without you fearing what others think. Now, with this particular card that I find interesting, and I had this card for a while, so I actually know this to be true, is that this particular image is, yes, of a feminine body, but the color scheme is very much of the rainbow. And that's not to say necessarily homosexual, or that's not necessarily to say against homosexual, as opposed to all-inclusive. Whatever you like, and whatever does it for you, whatever makes you feel whole, whatever makes you feel seen, whatever makes you feel loved and taken care of, your needs taken care of, that you deserve this. However you identify, however you express, and however your attraction works for you. And I feel like with this is the empowerment to know that you are desirable to yourself first and foremost, that you deserve to get all the orgasms in the world that you desire, but also to know that your body is not a mistake, your body is not an excuse, your body is not an apology, and as you give pleasure, that you should receive pleasure in return, especially for women, because a lot of straight women actually do not have orgasms. And it's so sad. And most women are able to have clitoral orgasms versus actual vaginal orgasms. And it's not a good or bad thing, as opposed to whatever works for you. And I feel like with this might be saying getting to know your own body. So exploring your body, exploring your sexuality, see what works for you. But it's also is the energy of knowing what you like and not being afraid of it, not being restricted by it, not feeling like it's bad or it's inappropriate. Well, it might be inappropriate. It might depend on what you're into. Hopefully what you're into is legal and of age. But for the most part, it might be like you might be more into this kink or into this play or into this toys or whatever the case may be. But it's very much of like, I know what I want and I'm seeking to enjoy it, especially since this card, sex number 44, adds up to number 8, and 8 we know in numerology, but also with tarot, the major arcana, and number 8 is the Leo card, which is a fixed sign like Taurus. And Leo is very much about that confidence. It's very much about children, and sex does lead to children, not all the time, but like that's what that is. But it's about that adventure, that passion, that confidence, that assertiveness, and very much resting in that, not needing to beat your chest and be like, look at me, look at me, look at me, but very much of like, I am self-assured. I am, going to work a room that whenever I walk into the room, I own said room, right? Very much secure in yourself. And I feel like this is the way that you should be in regards to pleasure, especially around sex. It's very taboo, especially in American culture, and especially in the way that we even talk about sex. If it's not all the way to the right, where it's like, excessive hardcore porn, if it's not that, then it's like purity and sanctity and like virginity. And it doesn't have to be those two extremes. It could be, I like what I like, with whom I like, when I like it, and that is it, and that is all. That is not for your business, but I'm not necessarily hiding it either. It could be that. It could be an arrangement where it's like, I get my here, and I get my there. It could be a situation very much of like, it's a situationship. It could be whatever it is, but let it be because you want it to be, versus restricting yourself because of arbitrary imposter syndrome type thinking of like, what if the neighbors know? What if my job knows? What if my mom knows? And it's just like, A, probably not, but B, like, who cares? Like, don't you deserve good things? Don't you deserve good orgasms? I think everybody deserves good orgasms, especially women. So with this energy, it's very much get yours because you deserve that. And there's nothing wrong with you getting that. Especially if you were raised in a very religious home, and very much like God and thou shalt not. Work through that. If you very much don't know what you like, don't know your body, never explored, never touched, work through that. Because you can't tell your partner what you like if you don't know what you like. You feel me? And you very much don't want someone to use your body as their sexual object and not receiving any sexual gratification in return. Like, you don't want to be anybody's walking glory hole. So, double on that. And especially if you're not comfortable and you're kind of like insecure or weird or don't know how to interact with your body, you can start with a mirror and, courting yourself, taking a nice long bath with your favorite bath salts, setting the mood, setting the energy, maybe some candles, maybe some scented candles, maybe some aromatherapy scents, and maybe your favorite song, maybe cut up some fruits and veggies. Maybe if you want to go, bougie, you might get yourself a glass of champagne, however you want to do it for yourself, and very much get comfortable with yourself, explore yourself. You might want to, hop out the tub and disrobe and see what you're working with, see what it looks underneath the carriage, explore and see what that looks like, what that feels like, what that smells like, And again, you can't express what you like if you don't know what you like. And you definitely don't want to assume that your partner will know or your partner should know if you don't know. So you have to be able to discover what you like. But also take the time to explore with your partner as well, because you can learn together. You can learn intensity, you can learn speed, you can learn pressure. So learn with each other so you don't end up taking it to the next level. Express your love. And again, this applies to Sun, Moon, Venus, Rising, Mercury, and of course we're working with the air signs here. But you definitely don't want to, be on one side of your kink. You're like, oh, I'm into this. This is how my speed is. I'm very missionary. And the partner's like bringing out the whips, bringing out the chains, bringing out all these different like triple-headed dildos. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I did not agree to this. So definitely talk about in a very mature and confident and just honest way where it's like, this is what I want, this is what I want to try, this is what I'm open to, this is what I'm not into, and learn to respect each other's boundaries, but also learn to explore each other's needs. Because if a couple can't talk about what they like and how it's going to pleasure them, then how are you going to navigate a relationship and all the things that come with serious commitment? Talk. Talk. So the second card here, we have past life relationship. You have known each other before. See? Okay, someone's grabbing that big old thing. Okay, that peach ass should be looking right. Okay, and then you have here past life relationship. When you see the way that man gripped her, you see the way that man gripped her. He gripped her right underneath the boobage, right underneath. So he's familiar. He's been had the access code. Okay, she looks very comfortable. Okay, he's gripping her right. Okay, and she's in the mood. Okay, she's very soothing, very reciprocant, or very much open to the energies, open to the grip, open to the sensations, like we have here with sex. Very intimate, very two. I wasn't going to say one-on-one, but yes, one-on-one. Very much in agreement. It's not forceful. It's not overpowering. It's not a guilt. It's not shameful. It's not coercion. It's not pressure. It's very much an exchange, very much a vibe, very much an emphatic yes. So it's no confusion on what it is and what it ain't. And I feel like with this, it could be a new person, but it could very much be a person of the past. Again, if you're trying to take an ex back, it might be one of those things where it's like, I missed this, and this is why I fell for this person in the first place, and I want to start fresh, and start fresh on an intimate, reciprocal wavelength. But again, if you see that things ain't pairing up, then don't take it to that level. Because once you open a can of worms, you cannot close that can of worms, especially if someone catches feelings and this and the third. It could be very much a ring around the rosy of fuckery. But also, make that person earn it, work for it, deserving of it. Because your sex is not cheap, your body is not cheap, and your orgasm and time ain't cheap, okay? So make sure they are deserving of it. Make sure that they have earned it. Make sure, not like a carrot stick, not like a prize, but very much of like, you are a person that I can be intimate with, a person that I can be with for the long haul, a person that I can trust with my body, even if it is just a fling, even if it's a situationship. I know what happens in between the sheets stays within the sheets. There's no like hidden cameras. There's no like, oh, let me tell my boys what happened and the legs was in the air. It's none of that. And I feel like until you get to a place where you could feel this comfortable, this relaxed, very much of the energy of love and wantonness and desire and safety, then don't do it. And the best relationships are the relationships that you get to know the person, you build memories with the person feels like a friend, and it doesn't feel like a one-night fling. But it's not necessarily to knock people who are into that. But if you're very much seeking a serious relationship, you're not going to find it in a one-night fling type of situation. Sometimes it works out, but most times it doesn't. And everybody thinks they are the exception until they find out that they're not. But in particular, in all seriousness, if this is a return love affair, definitely do your due diligence and don't let your lower extremities take over your higher extremities, okay? Because if the person knows you and they know how to get to you and they know how to touch you and they know how to talk to you, it's easy to love you back to one. Back to being putty in their hand, back to thinking things could be okay, you can try again, and this time will be different. And then instead of thief in reverse, it's thief of right. Whether it's the ex being a thief, thief of your time, thief of your love, thief of future faking, thief of being a narcissist, thief of taking your love for granted, but also could be you thieving yourself because you didn't do your due diligence, you didn't let the person show themselves, earn it, prove themselves worthy, or you got into a relationship and it really was supposed to just be a hit it and quit it type of situation, but you stayed too committed too long. But final call we have is Sweetheart here. And as you can see, she is reading a letter, so very much air signs, very much of that air energy, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, I. So with this particular energy here, I am seeing that there might be communications happening soon, or communications have already happened. This could be someone who finds you enduring. Maybe in a past life you didn't know this person. Maybe in the past life you were each other's, maybe Romeo and Juliet star cross lovers, and maybe in the past life things just started but they didn't continue, or maybe the relationship ended tragically. Maybe it's one of those things where the person didn't fulfill their mission, or the person wasn't able to expand in the relationship, and this time around it's time to complete the mission, or it's time to see where the relationship can continue and blossom, right? But what I'm seeing with this is going to be someone who makes you feel so comfortable, where it's like, I feel like I've known you before. I feel like you're my twin. I feel like you are my divine masculine or my divine feminine. Or I feel like you are my soulmate. Like, you make me feel so comfortable. I feel like I could talk to you for a gazillion hours on the phone. I feel like I could talk to you about anything. Very much of like that safe space. And when I say safe, I don't necessarily mean like lock the doors, but it's safe in the sense of like judgment free, safe in the sense of like good advice, safe in a sense of like what I tell you won't be shared with the streets. It's that type of safety, that type of security. And when you honestly build that type of trust, build that type of communication, build that type of vibe where you understand each other's mannerisms, you understand each other's facial expressions, like it could be silent between the two of you, but that silence doesn't feel long, it doesn't feel awkward, it just feels right. Though very much leads to some very good sex. I shall say. I will put it out there. But very much work on this particular energy, Pile 2, very much of the air sign collective, Aquarius, Libra, Gemini, very much focus more so on being you, but also building that relationship with the person. Very much who you are. Not an interview, because sometimes when you meet people, they're like, who are you? Where do you work? This, that, and the third. And it's just like, is this an interview or is this like a meetup? Like, what is going on? So do I have to put on my professional accent here? Should I put on a 3-piece suit? Like, what are we doing? So not necessarily that, but very much like get to know the person. Like, what type of music do you like? What was the last time you went to a concert? Like, what are you binge watching on? Like, you know, what are your political views? What type of books are you into? Or if you're into reading books, like just normal conversation. And over time, you know, you'll discuss and share interests, but you'll share also personal things like, you know what, my aunt just passed, or hopefully it's not that tragic, but it also, my niece just said daddy for the first time, or whatever the case may be. You just start to know each other intimately, and that's what leads to this relationship feeling so secure and so good. And not good in the sense of like they said something so it made me feel good, but it's the words and the actions following through, meeting each other hand in hand, and this person being sincere, this person showing up and showing up out consistently, which leads to you wanting to, throw that thing back. Nothing makes the WAP wet than a really great partner. A really great partner with great communication. We love us some communication, don't we, ladies? Communication makes the world go round. Now this is pile. This is the water collective, I believe so. Kind of had a brain fart, but this is the water collective, and we will start with watch your movie number 54, and it looks like this. Okay, maybe it's time for you to relax your mind. Could be a time to roll up some things if you're into rolling up some things. Maybe get you a glass if getting the glass is your thing. But very much relax, very much blasé, very much don't worry about what's to do because it's always tomorrow. Don't worry about what was accomplished and what email was sent and what paper was written because it's always tomorrow. But more importantly, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your time, enjoy your pets, enjoy your family, enjoy just taking deep breaths, enjoy nature, enjoy the colors of the leaves, changing colors. Enjoy the now, enjoy being present. And I feel like that for those who are dealing with a lot of anxiety, those who are dealing with depression, especially if you are the type of person who likes drinking tea, likes drinking Thai cheese or coffees or just warm beverages because this is the season to do so. Take that time out to just be in somber, be in peace, be in the moment, because life is always happening, and a lot of things that happen in life we cannot control. But driving ourselves crazy, driving ourselves haggard, driving ourselves to the brink of a mental crisis is not going to make any of the issues, be resolved anytime sooner, right? Or get the task done anytime quicker. Especially if you are a person who works and works and works until they crash. Don't do that. There's better ways of being productive. And there's also a time to just not be productive. There is a constant theme, especially in this country, where you always have to be doing something to be deemed valuable, or you have to always be doing something to justify you just existing. And that's not the case. Working class people, poor class people deserves vacations too. Working class people, poor class people deserve a break too. Poor class people, working class people deserve to just do nothing too. And I say that to say is that because we live in a hustle society, we live in late stage capitalism, we live in a time where it's very precarious, people have 2 or 3 different jobs, people are doing multiple roles, that we don't have time to just take deep breaths and just be in the moment. And that contributes to the anxiety, that contributes to the depression, that contributes to people crashing and having breakdowns, because we are not meant to be like rats in a maze. We're not meant to be always on the go, always doing something, always trying to feed the beast of capitalism. And that does lead to mental crises. That does lead to people having breaks in psychosis because of the stress. So I feel like with watch this movie as opposed to watch a movie, I feel like with this particular card is to watch movies, watch and just absorb content that makes you feel at peace. Like whatever it is, whether it's comedies, whether it's action, whether it's romance, take this time out to just very much ease your brain. Maybe there is a whole series that you haven't binge watched, but you want to binge watch. Maybe there's a movie that you want to watch, but you haven't got to watching. And now is the time for you to go watch that movie. I know for those who are into Black Panther, I think that's a Marvel film. Part 2 came out, so maybe you might be interested in watching that and you haven't watched it in a while. But whatever the case may be, is very much take the time to just enjoy life. Because truth be told, problems never finish. There's a Haitian saying that goes, "Problème pas jamais fini." Like problems are never done. They're never finished. It's never like problem solved. Okay, never a problem ever again in life. Finished. Woo, done it. Like a test. Submitting it, done with it, over it. Like that's not life. There will always be an issue. There will always be a flare-up. There will always be a crisis. There will always be this, that, and the third. So learn to navigate it, and also learn to take breaks off, especially if you're a person who's always on social media, you're a person who's always debating people, you're a person who has maybe a public face or a public engagement with the public, you have a high follower account on social media, whatever the case may be. Take time to take breaks. It does not mean you're weak. It does not mean that you're not productive. It doesn't mean that you're lazy. It means that you're a human being. Because not for nothing, we have to rest. If we don't sleep, we will go mad. We have to rest. It is designed within us. And there is no species, and I actually Googled this, there is no species of animal that does not rest to certain degree. Whether it is sharks that float above water and sleep in like 15-second repetitions, or 15-minute repetition, whether it is bears that hibernate, whether it's humans that sleep about 6 to 8 hours, which is recommended per human, and then for babies it's longer, but it's of course because the baby's body is growing. But whatever the case may be, the point is human beings need sleep. We need to rest. We are not meant to be robots. And truth be told, the reason why we always feel like we have to be doing something is because capitalism tells us, and the propaganda of capitalism, which is mainstream media, tells us if we're not doing something, then we're being lazy. Meanwhile, tell me how productive is Jeff Bezos having a super yacht for the human collective? Child, don't let these people send you to an early grave. Take your break. Period. Okay, number 9, 54, reduce gives you 9, end, right? This is a cycle. It's coming to its end. It's coming to its closing. Okay, take that break. You deserve it. Well rewarded. Okay? And you might be planning for that break because Thanksgiving's around the corner, so you might be planning to maybe do some Thanksgiving things, maybe watching Thanksgiving movies, maybe planning your Thanksgiving dinner, maybe going out and thinking of themes and activities and movies and TV shows that the family used to like, or what you used to enjoy growing up, or what you used to watch. Maybe this is the time where you want to rekindle those memories, or you want to go back to those movies, those art media pieces or mediums to rekindle what was. Kind of like, what is Christmas without Home Alone, the series? Like, you have to have Home Alone 1, Home Alone 2, Home Alone 3. Like, what is Christmas without Home Alone? So it might be type things like that, and it's getting you into the mood of like, you know what, I remember when times were simpler. I remember when times were easier. I want to go to those simplistic times, even if it's temporarily, but enough for me to reset, unwind, and take me time. The second card we have is True Love. This is the romance of a lifetime. I love all of this positive energy towards love, especially under this Taurus Full Moon energy, this Lunar Eclipse energy that happened in November 8th. Also election time for the United States. But this collective energy here, and all this positive with love, and even though Venus is in Scorpio, it is talking about, you know, refurbishing your love, renewing your love, dusting off your love and trying again. Very much some, is it? It's not Celine. But it is Celine. Like, what is love songs without Celine Dion? But more so shares, do you believe in lost after love? Very much that energy of like believing you deserve it, believing that you are worth it, believing that the past cannot repeat itself, but knowing that, you know, you deserve the love. Maybe you're very much a hopeless romantic, very much a romantic movie watcher, very much a Lifetime type of person, very much of a Hallmark type of person. This is that season, so definitely indulge if that is your thing. But I feel like instead of watching other people get the love that they deserve, or watching these beautiful Hallmark or these cinema production of love, alrighty, sorry about that. My storage got full, and then I had to figure out how to delete the videos so I can make more room for the rest of the recording. But then the first part of the video wasn't to be found. I was like, did I accidentally delete it? long story short, it's not deleted, thank God, but it did make space. So let's go back into the reading. Like I said, back to the collective. So this is the Scorpio, Pisces, and Cancer collective, the water sign collective here, which is honestly very fitting for y'all to be this like hopeless romantic, no shade, but it is kind of fitting for y'all to really be in your feelings, no shade, but it's that romance. It's the energy of like, you know, people are, you know, cuddled up for the holidays. People are trying to show off their significant others to the family. They're trying to, you know, get closer to your bonds, your tribe, your people, your comfort spot, your safe space. So for some of y'all, the water sign collective, you may feel like, you know, everybody's in a relationship, everybody's hugged up, like what is there for me? Like what else is there for me? Like I might as well just watch these movies and live my life vicariously. But I feel like if you've always not been the it girl, you've always been the supporting cast, you've always been the trusty, reliable, or watching on the sidelines, or the bridesmaid, never the bride, I feel like this is your time to be that it girl, to be the main girl, instead of wishing for the girl to get the guy at the end, or wishing that you were the girl who got the prince, so to speak. I feel like this is your time to be the main star in your own life, to get the love that you deserve, and to know that you are deserving of it, you know, not just looking at others and looking at the idea of love, looking at the Hollywood production of love, but actually getting your feet wet in love and engaging and dating and being around people and discovering what you like and what you don't like, and seeing what is there for you. Right? And we also have enemy here. And I feel like enemy is kind of like da da da. But I feel like in particular for those that resonate, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces collective, I feel like this is more so asking y'all, is your idea or how you engage in love healthy? Right? Because it could be the way that we see love, the way that we think about love, and the way that we enact in love, right? We see this all the time with these dating shows, these reality love shows, right? Where the contestants are there, or the competitors are there, whatever they're called, in whatever show, in whatever season. Child, y'all know what they're called. And you'll see these people go through this roller coaster of emotions and roller coaster of actions and roller coaster of activities. But what's the practicality of you really finding the love that you want in these type of spaces? Not for nothing, I personally do not see how love could be very authentic and very healing and long lasting and serious on a show such as Love Island or Love is Blind or any of these competitive reality TV shows. Even though, let's go throwback, Flavor of Love. Every girl Flavor chose, and it ended not being the one he stuck it out with, right? He didn't choose Tiffany, but Tiffany was the most down of them all. He chose Hoops. Hoops ended up with Shaq for a while. Then he chose, what was it, Delicious? And Delicious became a video vixen and dated other men. So like, these things are for entertainment. They're not for love. It's for a show. It's for the limelight. It's for attention. It's for branding or career or whatever. But it's not for the type of long-lasting love. The type of, we've been together for 50 years, right? It's not the type of love that lasts the stand of time. It's the type of sensationalized TMZ type of publicity stunt pairing. But I wouldn't even call that love. And I feel like when you watch these, whether it's movies, whether it's television shows, whatever the case may be, are you looking at them for what they are? Or do you sincerely think that you are going to find in your regular everyday life, doing regular everyday things as a regular everyday person, the type of love and the type of excitement and the type of like thrill and adrenaline rush as these reality shows? When is the likelihood that you see the same shenanigans and tricks and theatrics on these shows as you see in real life? Even Next, that old MTV show, was kind of outrageous. Like, these things are here to influence, but they're not a true life reflection of everyday people doing everyday things. Especially for the fact that everyday people, even with our cameras in our pockets on our phones, we're not recording our every single move, doing every single thing as these reality show contestants are, right? There is an intention and a profit margin to display this type of dysfunction and package it as love. So as we are watching these medias and we're absorbing them, and they are seeping into our subconscious, water signs, how are they shaping our perspective on love? Is this authentic? Is this toxic? Is this real, based on reality? What is the message, and how is that benefiting or hindering who we are? Because everybody and their mama got dating relationship advice. Everybody and their mama know how to keep a man, how to keep a woman, how to keep people satisfied, how to this, that, and the third. But everybody's getting cheated on. Everybody's a savage. Everybody don't do relationships. Everybody don't do feelings. Everybody got side hoes. Everybody got a this, that, and the third. And we wonder why our relationships look as dysfunctional as these reality TV shows. And that could put us in an enemy mindset where we say we want this love that stands the test of time, but if it's not as thrilling, or it's not as adrenaline rush and as exciting and as twists and turns and turbulent as a reality TV show, well, they're boring, or I'm just not interested, or well, he didn't do this for me, or she didn't say that to me, so I'm not an alpha, or they don't really love me, and all this other bullish margins of what it means to be in a relationship, what it means to be loved, what it means to this and the third, that has been propagandized to you by capitalists. So part of this enemy card could be an enemy to self, an enemy to true love, an enemy and impediment that you are causing yourself, because you may be seeing things from a clouded vision, right? Pisces, especially Pisces, is in retrograde until, early December. So it might be seeing things from the most luminous of eyes, might be seeing things from the most optimistic point of view, seeing things from an unrealistic point of view. Like, if he doesn't, pick me up in a horse and carriage, then he's not the prince for me. And it's like, but you're not even a princess. This is not a monarchy. Like, what is the likelihood of a man these days knowing how to ride a horse and carriage? So you want him to pick up a skill so he can ask you out? Like, the delusion of it all. It's like, Ma, be real. Be effing for real. And it might be one of those situations. Don't live in the TV show. Don't live in somebody else's script. Don't live in somebody else's storyline. Don't delude yourself into thinking that this is something good for you. Especially if y'all who are into true crime stories. I'm going to be honest with you. Y'all who are into all the Jeffrey Dahmers, all the serial killers and the true crime. That is very much a toxic space. That's very much dark energy vampiring. That is very much putting you in a environment and a mindset to think that crime is always around the corner, dangerous and high risk and violent, and to even glamorize it, to even make it sexy, to even make it exciting. And it's not, especially for those who have not experienced really good relationships. They don't really have boundaries. They've been raised in a toxic environment. They tend to conflate those passionate feelings of love for toxic fight or flight, very risky and tense situations. And this is what you see in relationships where there's high domestic violence, there's high partner violence. It's that love you, hate you, fucking fight type of energy. So also, consuming such content, how does that fuel your subconscious in the way that you entertain relationships, the way that you deal with certain people in relationships, and what to expect in relationships? Think about it, especially if you're listening to music where it's like, I don't give a fuck about these bitches don't mean shit to me, these hoes, this and the third, and you're consuming that on a regular basis. You don't think that's programming your subconscious? You don't think that's influencing your judgment? You don't think that is influencing who you like and what you find attractive and what you find acceptable? Not for nothing, man. It all connects. Not for nothing. Especially if you're one of those people who are like, I love me some bad boys. It's like, okay, you love you some bad boys, but don't complain when those bad boys put you in very precarious situations, because you know they're bad boys. What did you expect? We have make a meal. So some of y'all might be hungry, and not for nothing. Tauruses are good for knowing what good snacks go together. I'm not gonna hold you. Tauruses know how to eat, know how to throw it down, very much. Knowing what is pleasurable, very much that second house, material needs, what you have, your body, your values, the nicer things of life, the more lovelier and more delicate and maybe even decadent things in life. And food is definitely a pleasure, definitely a part of our five senses, taste. And this is number 32. So this is again a number 5, which is interesting because number 50, which is a 5, was or is sweet treats. And with number 32, which reduces to a 5, gives us make a meal. So this is definitely talking about eating. And again, Tauruses are good for that. So this could be talking about watching your weight, but it could also mean like, you know what, don't watch your weight. It's also that too. It's also gaining weight. It's also like, don't overthink it. If you know you're eating healthy, if you know you're drinking your water, if you know you're doing your squats or whatever the case may be, that's doing something. And that's good enough. If that's all you can do, if that's all you have, at least you're doing something versus not doing anything. Now you can substitute maybe fattier fats for healthier fats. Maybe instead of cooking with vegetable oil, you might cook with olive oil. Maybe instead of frying, you might do baking. Maybe instead of processed, you cook from scratch. Maybe instead of whatever. You can always do better. That's the point. So with this, it could be like trying new things, trying vegetables. The thing about it is, growing up, I was not into vegetables. Growing up, my parents did not make me eat vegetables, so therefore I did not like eating vegetables, and I didn't. It's not until I became an adult that I actually started liking eating vegetables and fruits. And it's kind of crazy because I will find reasons to pack my food with fruits. Well, not fruits per se, but more like veggies. I'll find ways to stuff some tomatoes, stuff some mushrooms, some spinach, some carrots, some red peppers, whatever the case may be, because I know health better. I know dietary measures better. I know what my body likes. I know what my body feels like when I eat processed food versus eating clean food versus eating food that I cook myself. I know the intentionality behind it. I know the care behind it. I know how I treated these items. You know, I know that I cleaned and washed my hands. So like, these are things that is an intimate engagement, and people might look at it like, okay, your cooking is not that intimate, especially if you're cooking for yourself. And it's like, it is an intimate process. The smell of it all, the taste of it all, the feel of it all, you know, taking something from scratch, all these different ingredients, when you toss them together, it makes something very much savory. Okay. So I feel like with make a meal, it might be asking you to start cooking. Maybe, you know, the holiday season, you might be asking people like, come help me in this kitchen. Maybe it's a potluck, everybody bring a dish. But very much with make a meal, it's also about sharing meals. Because though people might be like, oh, eating by yourself is sad, but it might be a time for you to spend me time. But also when we do cook, and we cook like a big old pot, or we cook in abundance, it's usually to share that meal. So if there's a meal that you haven't shared with something, or if there's a shareable type of meal, maybe this is the time to cook that. Maybe this is the time for you to take that olive branch to, you know, call someone up, or call your friends, call your family, call your significant other, whomever, and or maybe even do an offering to the orishas if that's what you're into, or an offering to the ancestors. Or you could just call someone up and invite them to dinner. And it doesn't have to be anything intimate. It does not have to be a relationship. It could just be you and your friends, you and your neighbors, you and your associates, you and your committee friends, or whatever the case may be. Just enjoy. And not for nothing, you could flex on your culinary skills, tell them that you got it, you know how to do it but also, again, in the process, when you're cooking for intentionality. You want the recipe to actually come out right, but you also want to enjoy the process, because when you don't enjoy the process, you might let things overheat, overcook. The texture might be different. It might be rubbery instead of being more like butter. You might over fry something. You might undercook something. But when you're intentional and you're cooking for a purpose, you're cooking for the enjoyment of it all, the taste and the flavoring of it all, the color contrast of it all, the ability to share this meal and have good conversation and have good company, all matters, especially to y'all fire signs, because y'all all about that action. Y'all all about that passion. The Sagittariuses, the Aries, Leo. Y'all know who you are. You very much know what you like and how you like it. Okay, fire signs. So I feel like with this, show off, show out, especially cooking, because even when you cook bad and you're not good at it, if your intentions are good, people might not want to eat it because they're not about to risk their whole life and their health care if they have it, cooking and eating some food. But it's the intent that matters. It's the gesture that matters. And not for nothing, if you're not good at it, maybe little daddy might teach you how to be good at it. Maybe that little daddy might teach you a couple of recipes. Maybe little daddy want to be salt made up for you. Maybe little daddy want to show you how he does it in the kitchen. And y'all could learn as you go and also build a relationship, build an understanding. Our second card we have is get to know each other. Again, share a meal. You can basically talk about anything and anything with a person once they're stuffing their faces. Okay, get them comfortable, get them open, get the taste buds dancing, and next thing you know, this reminds you of my mama's cooking. Next thing you know, oh, you cook so good, who taught you to cook? Whoopty whoopty woo. And you get into conversating, So I feel like we're getting to know each other. As you reveal your innermost selves to each other, you bond deepens. So again, when you share the meal, you enjoy the company, you're laughing, the bubbly is going, the wine is going, hell, maybe the juice in the water is going, whatever is going, the gum is going, you feel more comfortable. You feel the heat in your mouth, fire signs, Sagittarius, Aries, Leo. You feel the passion of it all. You feel, the taste and the flavors, the colors. It's like, wow, like you really put your foot in it. I don't know why I just heard, or not even heard, I just saw a flash of like Oscar Proud and Sugar Mama from the Proud Family, where the secret recipe to Sugar Mama's snacks was literally her foot in the dough. I would not suggest to put your foot in it. And I also, thinking about foot in it, I would also not brag if you don't really got it like that. Don't be telling people that you a culinary chef. Don't be telling people that you chefing it up. Don't be telling people that you better than Gordon Ramsay, and then they come over and all you got for them is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Don't do that. Don't flex. Don't put extras on it. And not for nothing, if you ain't got it like that, again, little daddy might be like, you know what, I can cook. Or better yet, I can show you how to cook. Or better yet, teach me how to cook. Let's cook together. Taking the opportunities that are given to you, fire signs, but very much getting to know each other and being open. Because, they might be able to do something better. Maybe the way that you chop may take more times, but they have a better way of chopping something, especially something like onions, where your eyes will be consumed with water. So, because onions make you cry. So if he or she or non-binary might be able to be like, cut it this way so you don't actually cause watery eyes, or whatever the case may be. And scholar, we have scholar here. So this could be studying. This could be a cute little friendly competition where it's like, okay, I'll make the brownies and you make the rice, or I'll make the chicken and you make the rice, or whatever the case may be. It could be like tag teaming. These days I cook, these days you cook, or one week I cook this dish and next week you cook that dish. It might be like, oh, I never tasted this before, let's try to, you know, recreate this. Or maybe if you're into hobbies and things like that, like, oh, let's look on Pinterest, let's see if we can decorate something like this, or we can try something like that. Very much enjoy the process, very much enjoy food, enjoy eating. Like, you don't have to eat to live, or you don't have to live to eat per se. You don't have to necessarily live to eat where you have to taste everything, try everything, eat the most gluttonous and fatty and sweet things. But it could just be like, I've never really had Latin food, let's taste different Latin foods. Like, let's say every week we try to cook a food from a different place in Latin America. Today we start with Chile. Next week we go with Argentina. The week after that we go with Venezuela. The week after that we go with Brazil, and so on and so forth. Trying different dishes, trying dishes that are national favorites or suggestions and whatnot. It keeps your palate fresh, but also it shows off your culinary skills. But also sharing a meal, you exchange ideas, you exchange concepts, you become more relaxed, you get to know each other, enjoy each other's company. So like, you can never go wrong when you eat. Period. You can never go wrong when you eating, unless someone's cooking something that's not favorable, like blood pudding or something. And no offense, but not for me. But that's what I have for you, Fire Collectives. But not just the Fire Collective, the whole collective. And again, these messages are for the elements of earth, air, water, fire. And again, this will resonate with the sun, moon, rising, Venus, and Mercury, wherever that lands for you. So maybe this might hit with you because you're like, ooh, I'm an earth sign, but ooh, right here, the water hits with me right here because ooh, my Venus is here. My moon resonates here with the air because that's where my moon is. But actually right here, this is where my Venus is, and my Venus resonates with the water. But actually, my rising is with the fire. So however it resonates and it works for you, just know that it works for you. Period. But that is the overall messages, y'all. Thank you for sticking through with me. Hopefully these messages resonate. The energies will be illuminating for the collective for the next 6 weeks. So get the most that you can get with this full moon reading in Taurus, as well as we are slowly inching closer and closer to the end of this year. Can you believe it, y'all? We made it through almost another year because we kind of gotta have a couple of weeks left, but we're damn near there. We can see the finish line, and we made it. We survived it. We've been through the thick of it, and we'll still be going through it, but know that we survived it. And we're here to experience more, to live more, love more, learn more, collectivize more, heal more, transform more, ascend more, and be the best versions of ourselves in this human collective. But that is where I'm going to leave it. You can find me on my socials, Facebook, Paint Your Truth, though I'm not on Facebook like that. Instagram, Paint Your Truth _, don't forget the _. Twitter, Paint Your Truth, as well as if you would like to get a personalized reading from me, you can definitely reach out to me via email at paintyourtruth.art@gmail.com. Everything will be down in the description box below. We can discuss everything from love, career, past life, messages from your ancestors, and so on and so forth. So if that resonates with you, you like my reading styles, you like my examples, these messages hit with you on a subconscious, unconscious level, it resonates with you, we are here, we are woke, definitely reach out and we can put in a session and work out the details. Please like, comment, share, subscribe. I would love to hear what you have to say about this reading. And more likes that you give this video, the higher it trends within the algorithm. People get to see it. We get to grow a collective, and more people get to hear the messages that they are meant to hear to help them with their own spiritual development and evolution. If you would like to show your gratitude for this particular reading, you can always show your gratitude via Cashapp at $VWCine. Again, everything will be down in the description box below. But that is the reading for the collective. I feel like I talked for a while, and I actually think I did actually talk for a while, but I miss actually doing these long, thorough readings, but also I just miss doing it formally. Like there was a while I didn't put out the singing bowl, there was a while I didn't clear out the energies, and the messages are still thorough, they're still deep, I'm still getting downloads regardless, but I want to go back to the basics, back to the foundation, like a Taurus should do, earth sign and all. But regardless to what, this is the fixed energy for the collective in regards to love, in regards to the way that we share our love, we express our love, but also how we show up in love, how we show up in life, what we are deserving of, what are our boundaries, what are our values, are we in synchronicity with it, are we walking it like we're talking it, and as well as how we engage in the collective. We can love people from afar, we can love people from a distance, we can love a person but not love their actions, right? We can love them as a human, but we don't love them as an intimate partner, right? Like there can be a but there can also be no, and that's a full sentence, end of sentence, period, big dot, finito, said what I said, respect that, period. So with all that being said, y'all, I shall see you on the next full moon tarot reading, oracle reading, whatever the energies and the ancestors are pushing me, spirit is pushing me to utilize to get the best messages for the collective. But the next full moon will be in the sign of Gemini, the third house. So see you then, but until then, be blessed, be enlightened, be loved.